because this quantum transformational psychologist, man who combines ancient wisdom with contemporary levity to bring fresh insight, yes, to all human problems. I can only turn to one, my big friend, and I say, and he knows why. My big man. Good evening, Dr.
My brother.
Leahcim Semaj.
My friend and brother.
I had to throw that piece in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, you grudge my G-Wagon, but I understand, you know.
Anyway, listen. The circle is getting smaller and smaller, and the realization to certain things for governments we see here in New York and many states of these United States where vaccine mandates are becoming a part of the status quo. We hear now the Prime Minister says that decisions will have to be taken. Are we heading there, sir?
Inevitably. But, you know, politicians have to talk different because they're trying to balance all the sides. And remember, the politicians' primary objective is to retain power, to stay in power, or to get back power. So, you know, you try to balance. But I speak as one thing, a psychologist. And, you know, Irwin, when you look at human behavior, for over 100 years now, we've had this thing called vaccines. And we have always had maybe a 5%, maximum 10% from time to time of people who are resistant of it. But why this time is different? For the first time in the world, we had the most powerful office in the world with a man by the name of Trump. And he introduced something called alternate facts. You know, and he ridiculed science and everything. So it has really impacted a lot of the world. Now, if we are to take this thing just coldly and look at it, anything that facilitates our collective survival, Irwin, would you say that's order? Anything that if all of us did it, it would be, and we would survive. That's order. Anything that if all of us did it, it would be our collective demise. That's disorder. So, for example, something as simple as a mask. If all of us wore masks and sanitized and social distance 2 years ago, there'd be no COVID virus now. Because the virus has to... Look, everyone who has died from COVID, let's be cold about this, got it from another human being. And that most people who have COVID have also transmitted to another human being. So that the person, we are the vessels by which the virus is transmitted. We know that. The data so far is clear. 99.7% of the persons who have died as a result of COVID are unvaccinated. So all the myths about virus, it's all part of what we understand. As a psychologist, vaccine resistance is a behavioral disorder. There are many behavioral disorders. This is just the most recent one. In the United States and in Europe, believe it or not, US and Europe has lost herd immunity with respect to measles, mumps, and whooping cough. Because there's large pockets of the populations have been resisting all the vaccines that we have been taking for the last decades. Any Jamaican who travels to Trinidad has to get a smallpox vaccine. Even if you're just going for vacation. Any reggae artist who goes to Africa had to have a barrage of vaccines. All right? So we've been doing this. We've been doing this without any kind of... But because the social climate, which has been created over the last 4 years, has created a whole nother situation. And so we now have a cognitive bias, a cognitive distortion, which has resulted in anti-vax behavior. And by the way, my brother, we talk a lot about one kind of the anti-vax sentiments, the conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
It's not one. We have 11 versions. There are 11 different types of biases. So that when people think it's just their own fantasy and so on, and because they get support from others around them, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem with the dominant anti-vax bias, the conspiracy theory, you cannot speak facts to it. It's immune to facts. So that you have to find other ways. And I produced 15 videos analyzing aspect of the psychological aspect of the coronavirus. The last 3 I did is a 3-part series looking at how do we convert anti-vaxxers. By the way, there are 11 anti-vax disorders as such in terms of the various route by which people take. But the nice thing about it, there are 18 methods in terms of how you talk to anti-vaxxers so as to help to transform them. So back to your first question, the Prime Minister really doesn't have an option. By November 1, the United States will institute that any visitor to the U.S. must show proof of vaccination plus be COVID negative. Many states have started to enter government buildings, to enter restaurants, to enter gyms, and so on. So the process, a number of countries in Europe have already started that vaccine passports are necessary. So, it's only a matter of time. If Jamaica decides not to go that route, it's the end of the tourist industry. Because then, look, why would a tourist want to travel to a country that vaccination is optional? And the data is clear. We now have a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
But Doc, recently being on island, speaking to folks who work within an environment in which I exist there, and one person in particular said something to me that just astounded me, and a couple of things actually. He said, I was actually one of the first person they're seeing who they are being told that took the vaccine and is alive. And I said, what do you mean by that? He says, because all the people who are dying, listen, all the people who are dying are those in the hospital, are those who took the vaccine. And I said, where did they get that from? And he was able to show me a plethora of media posts which these folks tune into on a daily basis.
Yes.
Just to find the argument. And it blew my mind because for the next couple of days, of course, I was just on them, talking to them and showing them certain situations about what would happen with their family. But what I'm saying here is that, and I don't know, Doc, but it seems that those within our space in Jamaica and external too have gotten significant control on the mindset of folks who make their decision based on what is fed to them on these platforms.
Absolutely, and
we seem to. I don't know if we have abdicated the responsibility, or we have abdicated, or we have lost the war there.
Well,
they are very strong.
Absolutely, they have. I think to a large extent we have abdicated, because you cannot use logic, as you found out, because they will provide their own alternate facts, right? They are. It's almost as if they are factories that are producing these alternate facts. One of the things I point out, this thing that we were introduced to a year ago, this thing about follow the science. But here's the problem now, Irwin.
Yeah.
A lot of people have no experience of what science is, So we tell them follow the science. I saw a wonderful article today where this doctor, when the person tell him all the things in there and all the things, he takes out a bar of Twinkie.
Yeah.
Twinkie. Twinkie is the most popular, what do you call it now? Little
hostess cake.
Hostess cake thing, right? And he shows them the label.
Yes.
And it says, read the label of Twinkie. The person start reading and couldn't finish reading it because the amount of deoxyribonucleic, there are about 15 items that you can't pronounce in Twinkie. No, you've been eating Twinkie for the last, 50 years? And you can't pronounce the thing? No, you're telling me now that because you hear that something is in this thing and you don't know what it is, you're not taking it. But you've been eating Twinkies for all these years with all these things in it. One of the things that we have to almost start to explain to people, no, I've been trying my best in my own posting. And by the way, I started a live last week, Monday. And at 10 o'clock, for 10 minutes, I go live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and what's the third one? IG, Instagram. I call my thing Semaj Mind Spa. And I've been just dealing with issues, so to break it down so that people can understand it, piece by piece. Because we really have to break it back down to basic. So one thing I define, what do you mean by follow the science? In science, it's very simple. You take the best straight line. First of all, you take all the inconsistencies and line them up. Huh? Then take all the consistencies and line them up. And then plot the best fit line. Because in science, you're going to have some people finding one thing and finding another thing and finding one thing. But at the end of the day, what is the consistency? What's the best fit line?
Yes.
But I know somebody who died, and I know somebody who, all right, one swallow does not make a summer. What's the best fit line? And we're seeing it. So we really, my belief to your question is that the Prime Minister has no choice. The question is how he's going to word it, how he's going to present it, how he's going to implement it. Yeah. And we've had a lot of problems over the last 6 months with implementation in Jamaica.
Management of the whole COVID. Yes.
Yeah. The logistics.
And therein lies the collateral damaging challenge for our leader, for our Prime Minister, because you see, you're not coming from a perspective of having a track record of delivering and the messaging is coherent and all that. And now you enter into this fray. Even those who want to participate and should participate it may not necessarily resonate. And that's my concern. I still believe there is time still available for more hands on deck with the necessary skill sets, Doc.
That's
to be part of this whole process.
You have hit the nail right on the head. In our society is too small for politicians to control anything that's of importance. Because there are too many people who are not politicians, who are not part of the political process. Now, if you as the politician, you want to take all the credit, guess what? You're going to get all the blame. So that they wanted to keep it close to themselves. One of the things that they're starting to do, they should have made it easier and broader for the access to the vaccine, as opposed to just limited to the government's going to put on a thing here and there. The US has got it right now. Every pharmacy you walk into, any place you go, the US is at the point, even though, yes, there's a big block, there's a red state, blue state, breakdown when it comes to vaccine versus resistor. That's clearly there. But for the sane people, you walk into any Walgreens, any CVS pharmacy, just walk up to the pharmacy section, and you can get your vaccine and get your boosters and so on. You go to your doctor's office, you can get your vaccine. Now, Jamaica need to quickly get to that phase whereby anywhere you want to go, right? So it has to be that broad. But then the bigger picture now is to this disorder. Here's my treatment mode. I'm suggesting a verbal/oral psychosocial vaccine. What is that? Put it out using social media and regular media. Explain the 13 different cognitive biases that cause anti-vax sentiment. You know what's nice about this? When you thought that yours was the only one. When you hear some of the other things that people believe, and you say, are some people fool? Then all of a sudden you realize that you're not alone. There's a thing called cognitive dissonance will now set in. people starting to doubt each other and themselves because, I mean, when you're hearing about all these other foolish thoughts that people have. So that alone, we have about a 35% of people in the middle who are just doubtful. I think we will get them over the hump with that. The rest, share the strategies for how you talk to people, how you share with people to transform them away from distorted thinking. Do that publicly also, so that they can now know how to talk to their friends and associates to help to get them, move them away. So that we know what to do. Is a matter of, are we willing to broaden, and the word you use, Irwine, perfect, all hands on deck, because we're in it together.
Indeed. Doc, challenges ahead, but I strongly and I do believe we have the skill set, we have the manpower, and what our leaders need to do is become more inclusive and recognize, in truth and in fact, they can own all the credit here. But the surest way to do this is to put the best 11 on the field.
Absolutely.
And right now, the best 11 is not found in just government alone. Dr. Semaj, we're going to encourage folks to check in on Semaj Mind Spar. Tell us again when that is, sir.
10 o'clock, 10 minutes at 10 o'clock, and all the social media platform, Instagrams, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, 10 minutes at 10 o'clock, 10 at 10. So we can share this kind of... every day, Monday through Friday.
Every day. All right.
Yeah, they say no rest for the wicked. No rest for the wicked, but the righteous need none.
No.
The righteous need none.
And go for and go for that wagon. Go for that wagon.
But you're jealous, no, Bridget.
Of course I am.
Oh yeah.
Take care, Doc.
Take care, my brother.
George. Dr. Leah.